Hello, everybody. FAI here, or I here, and welcome back to another Dungeons How to Be Successful video. And in today's video, of course, we're going to be continuing our How to Be Successful series. And as you may or may have not already noticed, we are trying to basically, at this point, effectively make a more effective dungeon. Now, one thing I'm going to be trying to do at this point, besides taking over our second island of evilness over here, is I'm going to be trying to, of course, redirect traffic. Now, of course, redirecting traffic is a good idea, especially going forward, as it will allow you to basically ensure that in some cases your enemies will only have one direction to go in, especially if they are, like, for instance, coming from the Spiro portal. And that's something that you have to consider going into the game and going into the process of ensuring that you're not attacked from two different sides. Now, of course, it may seem silly to make it to where the dungeon only is accessible from one end in some cases, but I assure you that it is probably one of the best things that you can do generally to future-proof / improve the chances of you surviving in the dungeon. Because, let's face it, if you're only using one entrance or having multiple entrances, there's a good chance that you're going to be attacked from multiple ends and multiple sides, and there's a good possibility that things will potentially go wrong. So, you just don't want to have that happen if you can help it. Now, one other thing you want to try to ensure is, of course, that you are continuing to build up your army when and where possible, because, of course, you're going to have to ensure a strong, powerful army to move forward, as well as, of course, improving Talia. Talia is always going to help you generally with most of your battles, so you want to try to improve her chances of survival, and of course her helping you when you necessarily need it. Another thing you have to consider is, of course, just how things work out for you as a player, and of course just how you can improve the overall situation, I would say, in total. Now, that really is up to you. And, well, the best way to improve the situation going forward would probably be to just make sure that you are able to control where you need control. But with that having said, obviously there's a lot more to it. And, and of course, it's something you have to think about as you play and as you, of course, progress in the game. And with that having said, things like traps should always be under the consideration bar, of course, and should be something that you'll have to understandably need to move forward entirely. But, of course, with that, you also have to consider how to keep the money flowing, because as you probably have already guessed and as you probably have already realized, money can become a bit of a anomaly as things get further along, and as, of course, you start seeing more and more payouts for your people / minions, as well as just for keeping things moving, if you will. But, of course, like it is, one of the main things is to always make sure that you're progressing where you need to progress. because obviously if you're not progressing at all, it may become a bit difficult for you to continue to see progress, if you will. And that's something that may or may not hinder your overall movement, if you would, to making things work for you. But of course, you also want to make sure that you are trying to find the diamond ring where you can. Because, of course, as maybe you may have already realized, or maybe you haven't realized it, the diamond ring will allow you to, of course, continue to, of course, unlock other things, as well as having pretty much unlimited money supply, if you would. And that's the main thing you gotta consider / think about when you are playing, is just having the infinite money supply, especially if you are looking to stay in the game for a lot longer, or just play generally for the long term. But anyway, those are just some things to consider and think about as you progress. And of course, as you continue to see things moving forward, you should also consider how to continue to make it something that's going to be hard for your enemies to progress through. Because, of course, as it would be, progressing and being able to progress is going to be a bit difficult. And it will always require you to understand that losses, of course, will happen. And you will see other things like not really being able to proceed forward sometimes being a bit of an issue. But as you progress, as you continue to achieve more and more, and of course, as you continue to grow into a much stronger dungeon master, if you would, it will become a lot more of a easier standpoint for you to be able to continue and, of course, be able to do more and achieve more, if you would. But, of course, like it is, that's just something that you have to really look at and understand it's going to happen at some point where you're not going to be able to see everything at the standpoint of being as much proceeding as much as you would expect it to, I guess you could say. But I mean, that's just something to obviously consider. And as you get better in the game and as you learn how to achieve more, if you would, you're going to also be able to see that understanding that you have for the future, and of course, just to be able to continue forward. Anyway, with that being said, if this video has helped you at all, I hope that you do decide to give it a like. Don't forget to also subscribe, hit that bell notification, because by hitting the bell notification and subscribing, you will, of course, be able to get the notification as soon as the next video moves forward. One other tip I would give you is, in some cases, for some characters and for some people, I would recommend that you target certain enemies. Even though the targeting system, unlike in Dungeons 4, is not as good in this game, it still is something that you should consider to help you progress and, of course, generally be able to continue to see the progress that you want to see overall. But with that being said, I hope that these tips and some of these things have helped you. One of the main things I would recommend is getting double of everything where you can. Because, of course, by getting double of everything where you can, you will continue to proceed and progress the game in a fashion that will be very effective and should help you overall just be able to move forward. Now, of course, as you may have already noticed, in the game, you will notice people attacking, of course, your islands of evilness. And when that thing happens, you should consider, of course, defending it as soon as you can. But of course, if you're like me and you can't really defend it at the moment, then I would recommend that you generally ensure that you can protect it at some point in time. Because, of course, as it would be, sometimes these things happen, and of course, when these things happen, you have to be able to make a note of it, if you will, and continue to gain it back when you can and as soon as you can. But of course, when it comes to redirecting the dungeon, if you find something like this gold vein, for instance, I would definitely recommend you try and make sure that it connects to your dungeon in some way without it, well, of course, leading into your dungeon that in a way, or in a sense that you don't want it to be leading into in regard, if you would. But obviously, the main thing about the redirection is to make sure that it leads into the dungeon, the other area of the dungeon. In this case, we're going to probably try to make sure that it leads into this part of the dungeon over here. And moving forward, that's how we're going to make our heroes kind of take a long trip, if you will, down the road to, well, the doom, if you would. Anywho, with that being said, hopefully this video has helped you and you like this video. I'll be back with the next part of how to make the effective dungeons. Of course, that will be continuing to just have us basically continue our dungeon making and our dungeon redirection. And yeah, don't forget to give this video a like, as I said before. And of course, as I said before, and if you do like this video, please do, or if you do want to get notifications as soon as the next video drops, please do consider dropping the hitting the subscribe button, and of course hitting the like button and the bell notification button. That way you get noticed as soon as the next video drops. And with that having been said, thank you everyone for watching this video. Thank you for being here, and until the next time, this is I signing out and saying well, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one.